Good evening, black people and all allies fighting for black liberation, black prosperity, and black joy. I'm Charles Blow, and welcome to Prime. The rising cost of goods and services are emptying Americans' wallets, and some economists predict consumers may not see relief for at least another year. According to data released today by the Labor Department, inflation has surged to 7.5%. That's the largest annual increase in 40 years. And more in-depth look at the numbers shows that food costs jumped 7% over the past year, housing costs increased 4.4%, and electricity costs rose 10.7%. While gasoline rose 40% and fuel oil rose 46.5%. This means that American households are now spending, on average, an additional $276 per month on necessities. While a tight labor market has pressured employers into increasing wages, inflation has all but wiped out all those gains for workers, all of which has put more pressure on the Biden administration to calm the escalating cost of living.
I'm going to work like the devil to bring gas prices down. Coming from a family when the price of gas went up, you felt it in the household. You knew what it was like. It matters.
Critics of Biden's handling of the economy specifically blame his administration's $1.9 trillion COVID relief package for overstimulating the economy during the pandemic. They argue that the $1,400 checks for many Americans caused a demand for goods while supply chains kept supplies low, resulting in rising costs. One such critic has been Senator Joe Manchin, who expressed concern over the direction of the economy today.
This inflation is real. It's harming people. It's 7.5%. That's a tax. And it continues to increase. It's not decreasing. So the feds have to step up to the plate and do something. The administration has to do. We all have to work together right now to get our financial house in order. If not, it's going to be absolutely horrible what it's going to do to the American economy.
Us to discuss our Associate Professor of Economics at Colorado State University, Numa, and Dean of the College of Ethnic Studies at California State, Los Angeles, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. So, Guy, what do you make of this continued rise in inflation? It was stronger rise than people had expected. Now some economists think the consumers may not see any easing in this inflationary pressure until next year. What do you make of these numbers?
Well, the inflation is to be expected. Okay, I don't know. Were you talking to me or him?
Guy, take this one, and I'm going to come back to you, Julia. I'm going to come back to you. But Guy, can you take that first question?
Yes. So I think that it's no longer a threat. Inflation is real, and I think it was a false premise that the Biden administration worked with. The second issue is the cause of inflation. In technical terms, as economists, we believe that you have roughly two types of inflation: demand cost and demand pull and cost push inflation. It simply means that in the case that we are dealing with, this is a production cost issue. Everything is increasing across the board. You named it: transportation, labor cost. So what needs to be done now is to address the issue on the supply side, meaning for businesses, and to address the issue on the demand side, because we are dealing with a disproportion between supply and demand. And so far, I have not heard something serious coming from the Biden administration. One more thing, to show the seriousness of the issue. We do know that inflation benefits borrowers, but it hurts lenders. In other words, what's going to happen is that lenders will increase the cost of borrowing in order to make up for future losses. And this tremendously hurts Black and brown businesses and households.
Julianne, what do you make of this criticism that people say the $1.9 trillion stimulus package during the height of the pandemic? I'm going to say height of the pandemic. We're still in the pandemic. But during the height of the pandemic, those $1,400 checks that were being passed out to people, that is part of the cause for this inflationary pressure. Does that ring hollow to you, or does that make sense to you?
Well, there was more money out there, so it does make some sense. People got checks. I would have preferred that those checks have been more targeted, especially to the bottom. I would not have taken the check away from Pookie and them, but I might have taken it away from someone who's at the top. What people did with those checks is they spent money, and inflation technically is too much money chasing too few goods. And you see it in the automobile market, especially with used cars. You see it in other places. But Joe Manchin is disingenuous because he's been criticizing the stimulus checks, but he's never said anything about what kind of solutions he would propose. He's from West Virginia, one of the poorest states in the nation. People in West Virginia needed that money, and they used that money to survive. We don't, how many people lost jobs or had their opportunities changed? And we know who it hit. It hit the people at the bottom. Everybody on this call, you, Brother Guy, and myself, we can go to work when we want to pretty much. We can teach remotely. We didn't get that hit by COVID. But somebody, a nurse, a bus driver, they got hit by COVID. And so I wouldn't take their money back at all. Well, I would have looked at more targeting.
Let's focus specifically on the impacts on black people, as you were alluding to before. There are just compounding problems for black people coming out of the pandemic. First of all, the number of people who got sick and died, that's just a tragedy unto itself. We will be looking back to this in history books and thinking what this exposed about inequities, health inequities for black people. But in addition to that, there are the economic impacts of people who were forced into, being now labeled as essential when they were kind of being paid as if they were not essential at all before that. There are the people who now have to educate children at home but don't have the proper equipment and space to do that, or maybe not even have working Wi-Fi to do that. On top of that, even though the U.S. unemployment rate is now down to 4%, that was last month, it was 6.9% among black people. And on top of all of that, this rise in inflationary pressure is going to fall more heavily on the shoulders of black people in this country. Just walk us through what you see as the kind of big Uber pullback economic picture that we're seeing for black people working their way through this pandemic and hopefully coming out of it.
Yes. So as I said earlier, inflation affects the demand side and the supply side. When it comes to black folks, it will affect the demand side. And as Dr. Malveaux mentioned earlier, I'm really, really worried about the effect of not, for instance, continuing the enhanced child tax credit. That is a measure that can tremendously affect and benefit black households. And you mentioned, Joe mentioned earlier, well, in West Virginia, apparently a recent study shows that 3 million children were taken out of poverty thanks to the enhanced child tax credit. So I think it's effective. And that's something that affects a household. But it also affects black businesses. I speak with countless small and medium-sized businesses, minority-owned, and they keep telling me that the major issue right now is to retain their labor force, to access credit. I think I mentioned it previously on this show. And inflation will come to bite people in their quest to access credit, as I just demonstrated. Because, of course, lenders try to make up for their losses. So we know that COVID was already hard for black businesses and black households. And fortunately, with this rising and growing inflation pressure, it will be harder and harder. And one more point, the false premise is to think that inflation will be temporary. I heard President Biden repeated it earlier today. No, it's not going to be temporary, because when you make the case that it will be temporary, you know what happens? Businesses stay put and they wait. So I think that the administration should work on the premises that inflation is here to stay and try to address the demand side, for instance, with enhanced child tax credit, And the supply side, we can talk about tax breaks or subsidies for for small businesses and medium-sized businesses only, therefore more targeted.
Right, Julianne, you know, the Build Back Better plan has fallen apart, but they're still trying to scramble around and see if they can pass big chunks of it. The Biden administration has said that they believe that the components of the Build Back Better plan would actually reduce inflation. People who have been standing in the way, like Manchin, say they're not for it because there is inflation and they're worried that the plan would in fact exacerbate this inflationary pressure. What is the truth of this? Will Build Back Better or some components of it help or hurt the inflation as we now have it?
It's a mixed bag, Charles. It could do both. On the good side, what we're looking at is if we talk about the issue of supply, putting money into the economy is going to help people who need stuff. And even as you talk about we talk about these higher prices, and you've seen them. You know, you showed them in an excellent graphic earlier. We know that there are still very poor people in this country. We know what the poverty rate is. And these are people who need stuff. They need, as Guy has said, the whole issue of the child tax credit. At the same time, when you give more people more money, they will spend their money. So that is inflationary. I don't have that big of a problem with some inflation. We have had artificially low inflation for the past maybe 5 years. I mean, we've had inflation rates 3%, 2%, artificially low. So in some ways, we're catching up. Some of the inequities that we saw from COVID are showing up. And some of the money that was put into the economy is now being spent. And for many people, that's a good thing. Right. So I'm not an inflation phobe per se. I think that inflation is high inflation. We can't keep the 7%. And there's something we have, economists call it a sticky downward, which means that people don't lower prices. They raise prices, but they don't lower them. So whatever a price is, you're not going to go to see a $25,000 car now go down to 20,000. That's just not going to happen. The increase will be slower, right, and it may tap off. So I don't think that prices are going to go down, but I think that public policy has to do some things. And we know the Fed is now talking about increasing interest rates, and that's going to have a blow on people who need to borrow.
Right. Guy, Numa, thank you for joining us. Dr. Julianne Malveaux, get ready for your Twitter to blow up for your Pookie and them comment. That's on you. That's not on this show. I'm gonna be watching your replies and see how that works out for you.